Good morning, everyone. My name is Raymond Ibachao, and I'm here in front of you to give you some insights about the target domains and universes of generalization for language proficiency and placement tests. So, we are talking about the language proficiency of the students that we are um, going to interact with in the future. So, since we're talking about the language proficiency, we are intended to rate the acquisition of the students, acquisition of the language of the students, and their exposure to the language itself. So we tend to think that we know these kind of performances. So there are lots of performances that we can use to assess the fluency of our students under terms of like language proficiency and literacy, articulating a validity argument, but identifying the range of performance to include in the target domain and on the emphasis of the given to different kinds of performances tends to get complicated once we attempt to specify the domain well enough to use it to guide in a developing assessment plan. So since that there are lots of performances that we are going to use and we have a bit complicated when in terms to developing our assessment plan since that we're since since our performance tasks that we are going to use are not appropriate for the students that you are going to train with, you're going to teach. These issues progressively more complex as we move from the mechanics of the language of use of general conceptions of communicative competence by Beckman and Palmer 2010 and Function and Davidson 2007. So the observed performances may be considered. Oh yeah, sorry for that. Since we are talking about the language proficiency of the students, and your performance task will be testing grammar, um, the spelling, the vocabulary of the students. These are learning the language. So we are focusing in the fluency of the students. So we are more on natural approach by step and question, the second language acquisition, which is that the students must be exposed to the target language in order for them to learn it or in order for them to acquire it. So we are more than acquiring than learning the language. So when we talk about the learning language, we are intending to teach them the grammar, the spelling, the vocabulary. So since it is the contrast of our target domains in here, which is the language proficiency, so we are going to disregard the grammar itself because we cannot use it in our daily aspects or in our daily lives. When we're going to talk to someone, we are not referring to the grammar. So as long as we understand each other, as long as we talk about we can talk to other people fluently, then it is good. So there are two disadvantages that been observed. Yeah, but they also have at least two potential. Yeah, this is the advantages of the technicalities of the things that you are going to teach, which is the grammar and the vocabulary. First, in drawing performances from a broadly defined and diverse target domain, the sampling variability is likely to be quite large, and it is evaluating the generalization inference. This variability will be considered to be major source of errors of measurement. This problem can be addressed by drawing large samples of performance and possibly adopting efficient sampling plans, but the cost of these options tends to be high. So of course, when we are going to teach different kinds of students, different kinds of traits, different kinds of um, cultures, so it is expected that our target domain is very our target is very high to be reached because since they have different kinds of first languages, so na nagdi ka ng magkalisod yun ka og explain sila, um although you have great intention of teaching them the English language. But the best to solve this problem is to use the natural approach, which is English. So even though they are struggling to talk in English, but as long as they are talking English, disregarding grammar, then it is good. The second problem associated with sampling directly from the target domain arises because the effectiveness of the person's performance in various tasks will depend on the part of the knowledge and skills that go beyond that we usually think as a language skills. And the performance can vary substantially from the task to task. No, this is not the second. So, yeah, tama. To the extent that the goal is to assess the facility of using a language, specific content knowledge or lack of such knowledge that might have an effect on performance on specific task or a specific situation is said to be construct relevant variables. It can be led to biased results of individual and groups. So according to Messick, so as he talked about his approach that when you're going to test the validity of the test scores, you need to check first the values that the students will intended to learn. Yeah, you need to talk about the values itself. So what kind of values can you learn about this test, or what is the students learn values about the test that you are going to give. So it is some kind of bias to the individual groups if you're going to focus on the technical part of the test, which is the grammar, the spelling, and the um, all that vocabulary, because we are talking about the language proficiency in here. So we are intending to acquire the language. So much more, we are going to give them a performance which is neutral performance, so that it is not included with their cultural background and their emotional aspects. Yeah. This is the right thing. The standard way to address this problem without using very large samples of performance is to select a relatively neutral performances, neutral in the sense that not introducing emotional factors in cognitive tests and not requiring any knowledge or skills, not explicitly associated with intended interpretation of use of test scores. So of course, natural approach is the best. Next is, okay, if the target domain is defined terms of tasks that require specialized knowledge of skills, it is appropriate that the assessment task also require the relevant knowledge or skills. So when your target domains need to have a specialized knowledge and skills, you need to provide them that kind of knowledge or skills, because you are the teachers. You need to teach them some kind of a technique that will help them to improve their self in order for them to be fluent in English, in order for them to be more fluent and more exposure to the target language itself will be great helpful for them. And this is for the next topic, which is the placement tests. So placement test is a practice that many colleges and universities use to assess students' readiness and determine which classes of students should initially take. So there are lots of universities are going to have a entrance exam. So this kind of exam will definitely test you from where you are going, where we're going to the where what course you're going to take after the exam. So if you cannot pass that kind of test, then you need to you've been failed, or you are going to be failed, and you're going to retake next year. But there are some universities that are going not having a entrance exam, which is one of them is University of Mindanao, and it is a good school. I can highly suggest it for you, because University of Mindanao have a pre-rev, so they are preparing the students to take um, they are preparing the students to be top notcher in the future board examination. So this kind of placement test is very necessary for or essential to the students in order for them to succeed in their pre-rev or the board examination. A test usually given to the student entering to an educational institution or determine specific knowledge of proficiency in a various subject and the purpose of assignment to appropriate courses or classes on Miriam. This is according to Merriam-Webster. So um, they are the same, of course, and I can assure you that this kind I this kind of test will determine your knowledge because um, that will measure your intelligence in aspect that you're going to take for your college. So I have a small experience for you. When I was in senior high school, grade 12, I take in I take a placement or entrance exam to the University of Eastern in the USEP Davao. Then I failed, so I go to UM. But I like I like schooling here in UM, and I like the professors here in UM because I can learn something. Because here in UM, it is not good for you to be slacking all the time because your knowledge is required. You need to study hard in order for you to succeed. So thank you for listening to me. I hope that you learned something from what I have said, and this will be a great. This will. I know that this guide will give you, or these ideas will give you some insights about it. Thank you so much. Bye.